protecting these children is a basic human right, and it's our obligation as a P&A to do that. My name is Peter Sleasman. I'm an attorney with Disability Rights Florida. I work in their Gainesville office. The federal government is picking up children as they cross the border from mostly Central American countries, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala. And these are children that are trying to migrate here to be with family members, to get jobs, to escape terrible violence in their home countries. And what we're doing is that the Immigration Service is picking up the kids as they come across the border, and when they're picked up, they're being sent to shelters and facilities that detain the children while they're here. Some of them are horribly overcrowded. The one down in Homestead, Florida, has now well over 2,000 and working towards 3,000 children in very overcrowded conditions where they're really not getting the care that they need. And even once they leave places like Homestead, they're being sent to shelters, temporary shelters, where they're living in very restrained situations, highly monitored situations, situations where they're not really getting the intensity of the mental health care they need to help process what they've been through. And in most cases, the fact that they're kind of in a transitory sort of setting and not receiving the care they need is actually doing more harm and exacerbating the harm that they've experienced in their journey over and the trauma that they've experienced. So the Protection and Advocacy organizations are going in, and because they are facilities that house children with disabilities, many of these kids have manifestations of mental illness as a result of the trauma. So as a result of that, they are part of our constituency that we need to go in and make sure that they're getting the appropriate care they need and not being subjected to abuse and neglect. The children that we visited in the facilities that we monitored in Florida range between 13 and 17 years old. So mostly teens and early teens. And they, as I said, were mostly from Central American nations. They either spoke Spanish or spoke an indigenous language, so there's language barriers. Most of them, as I said, have come here to escape pretty horrific conditions in their home countries, and they're looking for a better life, which is pretty natural. So we've been going into monitoring the facilities to see if they're getting the care and particularly the mental health treatment that they require. And what we've been finding is that they're certainly not getting the intensity of mental health care they need, the counseling to help them learn to cope with the traumatic experiences that they've been through. Many times counseling takes place in conditions where it's not private, where it's in a large room with other kids. In some cases, kids are getting one-to-one counseling with a therapist by Skype in a crowded room where they can be overheard. I had several kids tell me that when they started talking about details of what had happened to them and their concerns and their feelings, that they could be overheard by other children in the booth right next to them. And it made them extremely uncomfortable, which makes them very unlikely to kind of open up and really talk about what's going on and start processing the experiences. But even more to the point is the issue that these children have come here to join our society. And they're smart kids, they're motivated kids, but they are kids that have been through a huge amount of trauma in their travels here and in their country, and they've been damaged by that. And housing them at these detention centers is actually making the trauma worse and actually doing harm to them. And the goal is that these kids, with the right supports and the right care, can overcome what they've been through and be wonderful, productive members of society. I have no doubt about that after talking to many of them. And what we need to do and what the P&As need to do is to make sure that they get the supports and the care and the treatment they need so that they can process and overcome the horrible instances that they've been through and the horrible trauma they've experienced so that they can grow and prosper and become productive members of our society. Because the chances are that many, many of them are going to remain here after their travel over, and it's in our self-interest and in their interest to make sure that they're healthy and well-rounded and able to be productive, active citizens in our society. And we can do that, but it takes the P&A to help make sure that happens.
To get Disability Rights Florida's monitoring report on Homestead Emergency Temporary Shelter for Unaccompanied Children, please visit www.disabilityrightsflorida.org. The National Disability Rights Network is the nonprofit membership organization for the federally mandated Protection and Advocacy systems and the client assistance programs for individuals with disabilities. Collectively, the network is the largest provider of legal-based advocacy services for people with disabilities in the United States. For more information, please visit www.ndrn.org.